Cyprus, it's tough. You have to be ready for anything, especially fighting the fierce fires during the heat of the summer. Not everyone who trains to join 84 Squadron passes.
All different things.
Sergeant Joe Gladstone is a rookie with a difference. He's ex-army and a former prison officer. He's facing a series of tests to make sure he's up to scratch to join the squadron. Joe is being put through his paces by the most experienced winchman in defence, Flight Sergeant Bart Simpson.
Joe has come straight from number 1 flying training school. Obviously his background is slightly different because he was in the Royal Engineers initially, and then he took a little bit of a sabbatical. So he's a bit more worldly wise than your average rookie. But from a flying hours point of view, he's straight out the box, if you like. Whereas normally we would take people on search and rescue who have at least 2 flying tours under their belt, ideally. So from his point of view, it's a massive step change.
After all of his training, Joe now has to put it all into practice.
So today's a test, or one of the tests at the end of the course, to make sure that all the skills that I've learned throughout can be achieved to a competent level and to the required standard for me to operate as a duty crew.
How are you feeling about it?
Apprehensive is a word you could use. It's a case of the unknown. Basically we're going to go flying, and then different things will be thrown in my direction to make sure that I can deal with the tasks that are coming my way.
I say the overall situation analysis. Think when you get on scene somewhere, do I need to tell anybody that we might need a doctor to get out? All right, chap? Yeah. You got any questions?
No questions.
Just all the answers.
Day 1 is a training flight with plenty of curveballs. The scenario, he has to direct the crew to find a missing person stranded on the cliffs and make sure the team can winch them to safety. And the tests don't stop there. Flying Officer Jack Thornton is now pretending to be a diver in trouble. Joe has to locate him and correctly instruct the crew. As the winch operator, he has to come up with the plan. How do you think it went? Were you happy with your performance?
I think it went quite well, yeah. I'm not going to say, I'm not sure how well it went. We'll leave that to Bart for us to decide the results. But yeah, I was relatively happy. I felt it was an improvement on some previous sorties that I've done.
And he did very well. He was very accurate in a really dynamic situation. So in 2 hours, he had something like 4 different jobs, which, you know, is not that realistic, to be honest. But we just want to see how his thought processes work when he's under duress. He was acing it. It was really good.
Well, in just a few minutes' time, Joe is going to be tested again. This is day 2 of his assessments, and he's going to be winching down to rescue Bart. Rescuing his instructor, who has decades of experience, adds an extra layer of pressure. And the day's not over yet. Another challenge follows. Well, in just a few minutes' time, the helicopter will be picking me up, and then I'll be able to film Flight Sergeant Whittington as Joe directs him getting winched to safety. This is another key part of the assessment for Joe. This is life earning his place, and Bart is watching Joe's every move. This part of the day has gone well.
That was the good bit.
That was the good bit.
So he turned it on for you guys, but yeah, that is probably one of the more tricky winch operating evolutions, where you're simulating somebody who's crag fast, you know, stuck on the side of a cliff, and therefore he has to be very precise with his control of the aircraft and also with his finesse on the hoist.
But the rest of the day hasn't gone well.
Everybody has an off day, especially when you're a student. There might be a bit of testitis, but unfortunately, you know, the biggest test of all is when the scramble phone goes and somebody punches the alarm bell. So we can't mitigate for that. You know, he has to be consistently good, because there's no excuses really when you're faced with people's lives. I would imagine Joe will be fairly disappointed, rightly so, because there were certain fundamental elements of the first trip especially, where he was the winch man, where he didn't really bring his A game to the performance.
Day 3 and the tests continue. And because he failed day 2, Joe also has to refly his sortie and do it again.
Conditions, and if vital to prolong flight, the battery will fly for 67 minutes power after GP.
It's been a gruelling few days, but it's good news for Joe. After successfully reflying the sortie, he's passed.
Very good, yeah, very happy to be passed, done with the training for now. Still a long way to go before I'm fully ready, but yeah, definitely happy that this part of the training is over. Yeah, it's been tough, yeah. So with regards to all the checks and stuff, a lot of it can be self-induced pressure. Obviously having the camera crew there that added a little bit of pressure as well. But yeah, the feeling when you're done, it's a good feeling to be finally done with all the checks.
Potentially guys would have had 1,000 hours maybe under their belt before getting here, whereas Joe had less than 100. He's done exceptionally well really under the circumstances. You know, there were some ups and downs, but he's been impressive in the way that he's been able to assimilate those new skills quite rapidly, really. So that's good.
Now that he's made the cut, Joe will spend the next year building up his experience and enjoy being the newest addition to the squadron. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel.